This is the finishing maneuver. My name is Jacob Charno, joined as always with my co-host
Jared Wilder. What is going down? We had a very exciting SummerSlam weekend, and we are excited to have you listening and watching the finishing maneuver. And we have the unbelievable, the incomparable Mr. Sean Varga as our special guest for our SummerSlam reviews.
Yes, you are correct, sir. What a maneuver.
Yes.
What a maneuver.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure.
Of course. So let's
Pleasure
start
to have you, baby.
right off with the pre-show match. Apollo Crews defeated MVP to retain the U.S. title. And to be honest, this was just a pre-show match, another pre-show match that just didn't feel special. I mean, the fact that you're putting the U.S. title on the pre-show says a lot about what you're doing, how you're treating that title as a whole right now. You know, with the outcome, I don't feel a connection to Apollo Crews. And I feel like MVP probably would have done more with that title than Apollo is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I didn't even see the pre-show. I was running late last night, and then I just haven't had a chance to get back to it. I had to read a report online after. It's a bummer because, I really think Apollo has some potential. I'm a big MVP fan, even back in his first run. I love his theme music. I'm glad he stuck with that. And I think in these, Corona times in the Performance Center there, trying to fill 3 hours, he's really put a bit of the show on his back, and I think ran with his second run. I was bummed I missed that, and it was relegated to the pre-show, especially since the whole show was at a very economical, 3 hours or so, not one of those 6-hour slogs. So I thought they could have, had a good 10, 12-minute match and still fit that in there without the show feeling too long.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sean, actually. So for me, I'll give a shout out because Sean and I actually got to meet MVP when MVP was doing the roast of the Iron Sheik at Caroline's, New York. And I've always been a big fan of MVP. I think he's one of the best talkers in the business. And I agree with Jacob's point too, is that I don't connect with Apollo. I want to. And Sean's right, his athleticism, the character itself works. But I feel and they've already now set up earlier for Payback, the Apollo versus Bobby Lashley or whatever is the artist formerly known as Bobby Lashley,
right,
and the Hurt Business. And I have a feeling Apollo will probably drop it to him then, so that's maybe why they kept it on him. But if MVP had walked out with that, I've always liked MVP. I always will. He'll get me in the building. You know what I mean? So I wish that he had done a little bit more, but they kind of dropped him out, and it was the pre-show. Here's the thing, though, about the pre-show is that sometimes with a pre-show, you lose your audience. Hey, Sean was saying you had to do what you had to do. So I'll just take over. So I'll say is, and so then starting out after the pre-show, so we're starting out with probably one of the hottest feuds, I feel like, one of the best storylines in wrestling today in terms of the Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Asuka feud. So Sean, what's your feelings? Hey, there he is.
My Wi-Fi wasn't a fan of what I was doing right now, but that's just how it goes. Just how it goes.
Honestly, even the Wi-Fi wasn't a fan of that pre-show, and I think that's what we need to say is that get it together, Wi-Fi, and get it together, WWE, with your pre-shows. But yes,
sorry, one more thing I wanted to jump in about the pre-show. I just caught the very last 5 minutes of it. And they gave a send-off to Renee Young, and she's been such a big part of the backstage segments and pre and post game shows. So hopefully she'll go on to have a great run somewhere else, and wish her all the best.
Oh, absolutely,
I totally agree.
Absolutely,
Renee Young, one of the best in the business. One of the it says a lot about her that everybody in the business, near and far, regardless of whether or not they were afraid to be punished if they had said something, gave her a shout out for how kind, wonderful, and amazing she is. And I think everyone thinks that about Renee Young, and I think everyone's looking forward to seeing where she lands next.
Yeah, for sure. I think that a lot of people are saying AEW. I think AEW would actually be a downgrade for her in terms of what she could be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, she could very well end up maybe at ESPN, something doing on one of these bigger sports networks, just because she is that good, and that she could definitely handle that. But let's move on to the main show. Let's start off. Let's combine these into one conversation because it is one storyline. Bayley beat Asuka to retain her SmackDown Women's title, but Asuka beat Sasha Banks to win the Raw Women's title. And this was surprising because WWE made the right booking decision for once, and that's something they don't do very often. So, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on these segments from the night?
The irony of that was that we were both waiting to, in essence, we were basically the Randy Orton and Drew for a second there, because both of us did not hit the finishing maneuver on that one. Sean, how are you feeling on these?
I liked it, and honestly, just one quick note about the whole show overall. I mean, that was, and stop me if we want to wait to talk about our feelings in the whole show until the end.
No, we're flowing.
Honestly, that was the most I've enjoyed a main roster WWE show. I think all year. I mean, I was trying to think of I enjoyed the Royal Rumble match
100%.
itself. But I can't really remember the other matches in the Royal Rumble, and especially for during the pandemic, I think the new production for the Thunderdome worked quite a bit. But more importantly than the production, which is always top notch, is all the booking decisions. I mean, I even made it through. I was through the Orton and McIntyre match, and I said, to my wife, "Is like, man, I'm really enjoying this. Knock on wood. I'll see how they botch it up. I'm sure there'll be some spookiness at the end of the match, but won't jump the gun there. But honestly, I really enjoyed pretty much all the decisions, which was surprising to me. I think the way they went about those two matches with Bayley, Asuka, and Sasha really made a lot of sense. They're always great in their in-ring skills. They work great, and just overall, thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I absolutely give them double thumbs up. What I really liked about the storyline is they telegraphed for obviously months that the Bayley-Sasha breakup's going to eventually happen. And because of the global pandemic, they had to push it off a lot farther than I think they expected or wanted to. Awesome, great. The fact that they managed to still put them out there and allow us to love them all while bringing this into a big-time main 4 pay-per-view, and then setting up the fact that Bayley won, perfect, great, I get that. And then the fact that Sasha helped her, and then later on, it wasn't like, Asuka won because she got knocked out by Sasha. I mean, that Sasha won because she got knocked out by Bayley. It was that Bayley didn't try hard enough as a friend, which is an emotional connection that you have now to this to say, wow, wait a second. What if my friends didn't try as that hard for me to win those big-time championships? And I thought it was a lot better than the old school booking they would have done. I was such a big fan. And can I just say that spot with Sasha and Asuka, that power bomb where it looked like she basically just dropped Asuka on the pavement. I thought that Asuka was probably more likely dead than Velveteen Dream was. Hashtag fire Velveteen Dream.
Which I saw made it to one of the screens for a brief moment when Sasha was posing.
It won't be the last time. Let me tell you, fire Velveteen Dream and Pikachu both made it to SummerSlam in Boston, and we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's move on to the Street Profits beating Angel Garza and Andrade to retain the Raw Tag Team titles. And we talked about this on the predictions video, and I'm going to let you guys start with this one because I genuinely did not care about this match. Going into it, it's unfortunate because I really like the Street Profits and I really like Andrade and Angel Garza and think these 4 guys are part of the future of WWE. I just did not care about this match. It was a good match, but other than, in terms of pure story, I'll let you guys talk about this one a little bit because I really didn't care about it.
Yeah, I'll say.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, Shani, what did you say?
I was just going to say, I agree. Unfortunately, that was one of the matches where I was but the only match actually where I was cleaning up from dinner a little bit and I just wasn't as invested as I, should be. And I know some of that is all the nonsense of how the Street Profits have booked into track and field games and, bowling and all this other nonsense when they generally have great in-ring skills and charisma. I feel like they have a really great connection with the crowd, especially in their NXT days. But yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was going to have to kind of fake my way through this review and be like, it was on in the background, but everything else, I was really, like I mentioned, pretty engrossed with for main roster WWE products. So, I saw the finish, I saw part of the match, but again, that was the one where Didn't mean to have it as the quote unquote bathroom break match, but that's just how it worked out timing wise for me. So yeah, Jared, I'll let you weigh in more because I'm worthless on this one.
No, hardly. No, the reality is though that they used a Big Four pay-per-view to set up a storyline they could have easily done on tonight's Monday Night Raw or any Monday Night Raw. The fact that they didn't have a big time that they didn't have Bianca Belair come out to somehow break it up. The fact that it was such a blah match for so many talented performers. There's a reason why when they have given us the feeling that we're not supposed to care about these talents, that we don't. And that was my biggest problem with this match. To set it up, okay, so now, Angel Garza and Andrade split up. Okay, I didn't care about that feud enough to even care about them splitting up. Whereas we just spoke about Bayley and Sasha having a 6-month time where they basically weren't doing that much, and I still was invested. I think that says everything about that match I need to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I would love to talk more about this match, but it's they didn't really
wanted to.
Why? Yeah, no one wants to. Nobody would like to talk about this match any more than we just did, and that was even a lot for this tag team match because they have been. I mean, once again, we talked about in the prediction video. They really have been just disrespecting tag team wrestling, not just this year, but for so long now that it just you're better off. Even if you're the tag team champions, you're better off being a singles competitor at this point and just losing to the Intercontinental Champion because you're going to get more over with WWE as the guy who lost in the Intercontinental Championship match than you are as the Raw Tag Team Champions. And it really just says something about the way WWE has handled everything in the tag division so far.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So now moving on to a match that I was very excited for, and it really outperformed even the expectations that I had for it, which was Mandy Rose beating Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville ultimately now has to leave WWE or leave WWE. But we thought this was going to happen. This was very predictable. I think this was the right decision to make. We said Sonya Deville. We don't know what would have happened if Mandy Rose had lost because we don't know where they would have gone with that. But now Sonya Deville has an opportunity. Can I ask you guys a question?
Right. So, not to interrupt you, Jacob, but did they just not tell us that it was no longer a hair versus hair match?
Because I was actually going to ask the same exact thing. I was like, did I miss this somewhere?
Okay, so we genuinely so this is one of Jacob and I's favorite storylines and matchups going in, and then all of a sudden this happens, and I'm like, oh no, and we both thought obviously the right decision. Sonya starts walking out, and I'm like,
where are the Razors? Where's the Clippers?
Right.
We want the Clippers.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Here's the thing, though. I honestly, if it was Razor Ramon, if it was the LA Clippers, at that point in time, any of them coming out would have been more just makes sense than the fact that nothing came. Brutus the Barber Beefcake coming out and doing a random doing a random promo on why Otis should wind up maybe cutting him down left and right would have made more sense, and they just didn't tell us. And it was a great match, but I think in a way at the end I was so confused by that it took away a lot of the oh, okay, so you obviously have a future for Sonya Deville in the same way that they have for Keith Lee, but you don't need to just completely just drop a storyline. It's the hacker storyline. It's like you made us care about it for weeks, and now she's just gone?
Yeah, I mean,
and I think that's one. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
No. I'm just saying we'll see Sonya Deville at the Royal Rumble. That's just it'll happen. She'll come out number 30, and everyone will be like, "Oh my God, who would have seen Sonya Deville coming out Royal Rumble?" And all of us see it coming. She's not gone permanently. She's too good. They would never let her actually.
Which is ironic because we would have never seen it coming.
Right, and we'll talk about something we never see coming later on in the show because as soon as that match ended in the main, we'll talk about it later. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Sean, what were you going to say about this match?
I think that's one of the problems with WWE booking the last years is not having respect for the audience to follow along your storylines. Yeah. I mean, we were all just like, wait, did I miss something? Was there something online? Was there something in the pre-show? Yeah, I thought I genuinely just missed it, but I kind of went along with it. But that's what happens when you don't respect your audience to actually become, engrossed in the storylines and make things matter. I think if Sonya Deville would have lost, she would have looked pretty badass with like a G.I. Jane Demi Moore type haircut. And also,
I totally agree.
It just goes along with the same, like in the main event of WrestleMania, Roman Reigns dropped out for, COVID health related reasons. But like all of a sudden, Braun Strowman's in the main event. Like just no explanation. Like if you want people to care, write something, I don't know, make something up.
Right. No one would have thought like Braun. And then the fact like as soon as
the monster among swerves.
Right. As soon as they said Braun was coming into that Mania match, I was like, okay, well, Braun's gonna win. It's just because they're not keeping Goldberg. They're not having Goldberg defend every month at every pay-per-view because that's not possible with him because it's Goldberg. Nor do I want to see Goldberg wrestle anymore at all. But I'm
wrestle. Let me use the term loosely.
I almost kill the Undertaker and all his opponents every single time he steps into a wrestling ring.
Yeah, bashing him unconscious.
Oh my god,
bleeding out of the head before you walk out.
Oh god, but yeah. But Braun, Braun really he took it and ran. I'm props to him because that was I didn't have a lot of confidence in him before, but he really took it. And for the last couple months, he really just he knocked it out of the park. I guess that's the only way to put it. Let us move on to Seth Rollins defeating Prince Dominic Mysterio in a match that I was not expecting. I wasn't expecting Pat McAfee to come out at TakeOver and wrestle. I wasn't expecting Dominic to come out and have a real wrestling match against Seth Rollins, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. Dominic was pretty good. For his first ever match, that was. He pulled out some good moves. He did the frog splash, Eddie Guerrero. I think he did a 619 at some point to the outside, that was a weird thing that I saw. It was confusing because Seth Rollins was just absolutely unloading on Dominic with a kendo stick, and it was a street fight.
My favorite part.
And it was a street fight. So the fact, and Ray was just on the outside. He's like, dude, all I want to do is get in there and help him. You can get in there and help him. There's no disqualification. You can't.
Right.
It's the logic of, and then Buddy Murphy got in there and just he was helping out, and it was and then apparently Buddy could help, Murphy could help, but he couldn't. What?
Can I just? By the way, they've missed a real opportunity with Buddy Murphy not having a My Buddy commercial for Buddy Murphy. Wherever he's going to go, I'm going to go. And it's Seth Rollins. I'm going to set this up for Sean so you can actually talk about this in a way as well. So for me, I just think that the best part of this was that Seth Rollins came out trolling.
Oh, the 1997 Halloween Havoc Rey Mysterio costume.
Right. And it's not just the Rey Mysterio. It's the Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, which is the last time we saw Prince Dom Mysterio in a match.
Dominic on a pole. Dominic on a pole,
right? Hey, it's better than Judy Bagwell on a forklift, but it's only close, The fact that they set this up, I was worried they were going to have an actual match, especially after the Pat McAfee Adam Cole match. I was super worried. The fact that it was basically 20 minutes of Seth Rollins just trolling the entire Mysterio family over and over. He was about to go after Dominic's mother and Ray's wife. The fact that they did that made it, in a weird way, so much funnier and better than had they actually had a match. Because had they had a real match, I probably would have been like, all right, honestly, I prefer the Street Profits, Andrade and Angel Garza match to this right now. That could have been on the pre-show otherwise. But then the fact that Rollins comes out, trolls them all. And you know what, though? We hate on Rollins a lot because he has a douchey online presence. But let me tell you, both him and Adam Cole worked two people through their first matches in unbelievable, just technical fashion. And so, you know what? Even though I don't always love it, I'll give them props and a boom for that. Sean, what you think, brother?
I really enjoyed this match. At first I was like, really, like this kind of nepotism. He's getting his first match against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. But honestly, I really thought he held his own. He's been paying his dues, taking those kendo sticks. Is there a way to gimmick those things? I mean, between Seth and Dominic, it's
he's been taking every single one of those. He's been taking every single one of those kendo stick hits like a champ. And Seth Rollins was not. And he was not pulling those. He was hitting him. Like there's no way of faking that.
Yeah, I said I hope he takes his Kevlar off and gives him his just desserts, and he really did again after taking that a couple of weeks ago. And I think Seth Rollins' new gimmick should just be maiming the entire Mysterio family. Push Angie Mysterio down a flight of stairs. We've already taken out an eye.
Like Kane pushing Zack Ryder in the wheelchair off the stage.
Yes. And nice pointing out the pants there, Seth Rollins. A lot of people have great new, tights and outfits and stuff for big pay-per-views. I didn't even put that together. That's what that was from. So that was really cool. I thought it looked kind of dark ordery, the purple and everything.
It did.
But actually thanks for pointing that out. That's a nice callback. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, Ray being handcuffed and
I think the
facial expressions.
I think
made him re-sign
them. Yeah. Oh my God. I think people getting handcuffed. I think people getting handcuffed might be my least favorite thing in wrestling. I think it's it makes it so I feel uncomfortable watching it. It's just
honestly, I don't like it in life. It makes me uncomfortable in life as well.
They pulled out the handcuffs. They pulled out the handcuffs. And out loud, I went. I said. I looked at my dad. I went, kinky, and he didn't like that. But that
was yeah. That's the only time that it's okay and acceptable to be handcuffed in our society anymore. And I'm okay with that, by the way. But you know what though? When you're gonna handcuff, when they genuinely brought back Mysterio. So Mysterio, and so his contract status isn't, I guess, completely locked down. But the possibility of him re-signing with WWE. Just for them, after him re-signing, to emasculate him as a father and a man while watching his son be beat down left and right, and then and he couldn't even go after his wife. In fact, his son had to come after. I just don't understand. What did Rey Mysterio do to anyone from booing at the main at Royal Rumble a couple years ago to then this? It's like, hey man, booyaka, but maybe not 619 anymore.
Yeah, maybe not so much boo. Yeah, the unmitigated gall to come out at number 30 at that Royal Rumble instead of Daniel Bryan. Oof.
Right. How dare you? How dare you, Ray?
I think Ray, I found it just... I thought at the end of that match, if they were really going for... I mean, we were talking about the possibility of Dominic maybe joining Seth Rollins in that faction.
Which could happen tonight, by the way. Or
I was still secretly hoping for that. The heel in me just loved
that. If they open up tonight, and for some reason...
The key.
I thought he was going to walk out. I thought he was going to walk out. Oh my God.
I totally agree. I so agree. I thought so they dropped that key. I thought the key was going to have a reference, and I thought he was going to take it with him and be like, I asked you, I told you to not get involved. And it's like, all right, if you're going to further the storyline in a big pay-per-view, great. But if you're just going to be like, all right, no, why do I care?
I wish Ray, if they open up tonight, and for some reason, there were matches after, but for some reason, Rey Mysterio's still handcuffed to the ring. That would be, I feel like, with the same thing with WWE not understanding that fans are smarter than they think they are, and they're just they show this is what happened after the match, and it's Dominic walking out instead of them just showing it on the pay-per-view when everybody's watching, that's the most WWE thing to do out of this, is to just say, oh, this is what happened after the show or after the match that you didn't see because we took the cameras off or something
So to spawn off that point, with that being said, is that, but the biggest problem for me, even coming in after the setup of the storyline, was that the scene you saw earlier in the night was basically, it was the Mysterio family coming together to drop Dominic Mysterio off at college. You know what I mean? And he kissed him on his forehead. He went him off. And by the way, if I got to see that in a 24/7 and Untold about the Mysterio family, I would love it. I would eat it up because that's amazing. But it just made Dominic look weak in a way that I think he already did, and it was unnecessary for his further development. Personally, I don't know if that's the case, but we'll see what they do tonight because they obviously have a long-term booking. What obviously says long-term booking in WWE seems like a fallacy.
Don't jump
way
to
too
any
much credit.
conclusion. Don't jump to any conclusions yet about long-term booking in WWE because we've seen some things that we thought were long-term booking, but ended up being just they just dropped it, and it was like the hacker. What happened with the hacker? They brought back Mustafa Ali and in the most underwhelming way possible. They weren't even like that. That return was they didn't even bring him out as a surprise. They were I think it was either Ricochet or Cedric Alexander were they're like, here he is, he's back, Mustafa Ali, and everyone was like, cool, and then he just walked out. We're like,
here he is.
That sucks. That sucks. We don't want to see him return like that.
Right.
Just to go back to your frat hazing analogy, that's pretty much what goes on there. You dropped off of college, just hit the frats and just get some Singapore canes for weeks on end. Then cool, you can hang out with us now.
Yeah. Needless to say that our friend crew never did that to Sean.
Yeah.
Not to say
we don't need any. We don't need any cases. There doesn't need to be any lawsuits here. But we could. Yeah. Let's move on to the WWE Championship match. That was not the main event, even though
I was surprised at.
I had called it yesterday on the prediction show or on Friday on the prediction show that there would not be that the WWE Championship match would not be the main event, and that they would pull some silly stuff in the main event with the Fiend. But Drew McIntyre defeated Randy Orton on the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the roll-up. And it is the only way that they could make Randy Orton not lose. But it was just, I didn't like the ending, and if they were gonna have Drew win, kick him in the face. I love the Claymore kick. Kick him in the face, put him out for a 3 count. Just it's not that hard. It's Randy Orton. It's not making him look weak. He's not getting buried. You can't bury Randy Orton. I don't think it's possible. So either way, Drew McIntyre beat Randy Orton. It's a fine match. I mean, no one hit their finisher. Randy Orton, I think he set a world record for most attempts of an RKO, but it was a pretty good match. They made the right booking call. Randy shouldn't have taken that title. Drew. Love Drew. Yeah. I'm happy that they're keeping it on him for now, at least, or that's what it looks like, unless they take it off him at Payback, which if they do that, I might never watch wrestling again. But
guess what, Jacob? Because guess what they're going to wind up doing? They're taking it off him at Payback. So that is my in this experience. I know it sucks. I couldn't agree with you more, and yet at the same time, though, they set that up so well, and then they set that up so well. Give them talk about the storyline of it. That we all thought it was going to be the main event, and that because it was, you'll never see it coming, that's the RKO. And that it was almost become a cultural phenomenon, the RKO out of nowhere. So if he walked out, that no one would have been surprised. What we were surprised that you would not see it coming was that match was not the main event, and that when they did it, no one, Drew and Randy, did not hit their finisher. So when Payback comes, it's going to be a
first finisher. It's going to be a first finisher wins match. Watch
Claymore versus RKO, and I thought that was unbelievably well booked because in the same way that we were talking about earlier of Braun taking WWE through this difficult period, Drew McIntyre has done work, and Sean brought up the Rumble before. From that match on, from that booking, as much as I disliked it until he got into the Rumble, once that happened, I realized how smart that was because I popped for that. And then when they pull back and you see the entire arena just going crazy, like it was Daniel Bryan back in the day, I'm for it. And so they're going to keep him champion. However, though, I have some very, very bad feelings about Payback because that is where that will be the main event and Payback will happen. And I'm unfortunately assuming that Mr. RKO is walking out with that belt. Sean, how do you feel on that and that prediction?
I'm afraid you've got some bad news.
Yes.
I think I'm higher on Drew and his performance than Braun, at least for me personally. I think he's done such a great job of carrying the company and trying to connect with the fans, through the camera into your TV set, with not having anyone there. I mean, it's such a shame. He worked so hard to get to that spot, and I think if there was crowds, he'd be one of the most popular, babyface champions, they've had in a decade. Cena was getting booed by at least half the audience, Roman probably even more. And I really think if there was, fans in arenas, that he would be pretty, like 80-90% cheered. At least I think he's done a really great job. I really enjoyed the match myself, for two big guys and, their style. I gave it 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed their facial expressions, especially near the end, the back and forth of who's going to hit their finisher first. It did seem a little, not really giving Drew his due with a roll up instead of hitting the Claymore or trying to keep Orton strong. I definitely agree with that. But yeah,
we're going to change the finish, brother.
Once that was coming on, middle of the show, I was like, Drew's gonna lose, and then there'll be some kind of like supernatural post-produced shenanigans for Bray and Braun at the end. I was really enjoying the show, but when he won, I don't know, I was pleasantly surprised. So I could see, you never know with WWE. I'm always waiting on them to especially the main roster, to make the worst possible decisions, both with their business, politically, you name it, booking wise, story wise. So I'm trying to stay glass half full and say they won't just like give it to Randy next weekend, which again is like really quick turnaround. I'm not really sure the impetus behind having another pay-per-view the next weekend, but anything's possible. And but yeah, for the match overall, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would actually. Yeah. But again, I thought I had the most build out of everything, and I was surprised they put it on halfway through the show into the main event, especially with the babyface going over. Usually they like to end strong, but then when we see what happened at the end. Let's and who the real star of the company is, but I won't jump the gun on that.
Let's talk a bit about that. Let's talk a bit about the real main event. Let's talk about the main match first, then we'll talk about what happened after the match.
Ladies and gentlemen, your main event of the evening, straight out of the Firefly Funhouse, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus the Monster Amongst Men, Braun Strowman.
Woo! And now, the result of that match: The Fiend defeated Braun Strowman in maybe the most underwhelming finish to a match that I have ever seen in my entire life. I didn't hate the match. I mean, it was a fun match to watch, obviously, but where first I thought when Braun brought out the box cutter, which was that was a weird call to begin with, but
yeah,
I thought it was gonna cut the mask off him, and I thought they was gonna like.
I did too.
So sick. That would have been so sick too.
I totally agree.
Yeah, to have him be like this. It's Bray. Like, don't like. It's just a man. Like it's.
I love that. That's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
I am the monster among men, and Bray is just a man, and it is I am Braun Strowman, and then Power Slam 1, 2, 3. But he ended up cutting the ring open, and it just like when you're talking to a non-wrestling fan, and they're like, "It's fake, and you're like, "No, they're landing on wood, it hurts." And then they cut open the ring, and there's padding underneath, and I get it's a thin layer of padding, but it is still padding, and we're just giving them more fuel to say that it's fake and that it doesn't hurt, but we know it does. But so they reveal the wood, and then I don't know if they just stopped pumping in crowd noise for this part, but there were two Sister Abigails onto the wood. And then he just pinned him for a 3 count, and the announcers weren't saying anything. And it was like, we're like, okay, I mean, it's believable. And it was like the weirdest ending to a show we've ever seen. And then, you know what? Let me get your. So I'm jumping the gun, but what were you guys' opinions on the entire match as a whole?
Well, first of all, I thought the Bray's Fiend entrance, with the Thunderdome production, all those lights and lasers and video screens, I thought that looked incredible. That was such a great presentation, but they always do a great job with that. Now, if only they spent like, half of the production budget on storylines and booking decisions that made sense, maybe we'd be in better shape, but I digress. I was actually kind of concerned, and, I was watching with my wife, and, she was like concerned too, and like the box cutter like went down. It's like, oh my god, are they gonna fall on that? Like, she really kind of be careful there. And she was actually thought there would be more padding underneath in that little thin layer. She was just like, that's all the padding they have underneath there. Like, oh man, I thought it was more than that. It's like, no, it's not really that much.
And then you see the wooden plank underneath, and you're like, oh, so you're basically like, it's like a gym,
right?
Yeah. Match wise, I thought it was fine, for two big guys, nothing really wrong with it, but it did seem kind of abrupt. I kind of like groaned when he was cutting up the ring, thinking, all right, well, there'll be some red light coming up, some dry ice smoke, and somebody's going to get sent straight to hell. So when it was actually a clean finish, I was like, kind of out of nowhere, but all right, didn't really do a lot for me either way, like fine, all right, cool, I guess.
Yeah. Honestly, I totally agree. I thought it was a really good match, but I thought that once the box cutter happened, I 100% thought what Jacob just said was going to happen. He's going to cut off the mask and say he's just a man, and then Bray is going to come back and beat him. But the problem is also that as badass as it looked, it took so long to cut up that square in the ring that you saw that one shot of Bray just standing there waiting for him to finish cutting, and it was like,
it wasn't even like an oh shit, he's up already. It was like I would have been up by that point too, even after like that whole match. Like it was
right. And then he goes, "Why won't you die already?" And it's like, well, honestly, he would have died. He died, and he came back to life because it took you so long to cut this square, broad. So, do me a favor. I was expecting. But you have a box cutter. This ain't West Side Story. They knew what to do with that box cutter. You know what I mean? You get down to business with that box cutter.
I had mentioned my least favorite thing in wrestling was the handcuffs. I think my favorite thing in wrestling, maybe of all time, is Braun Strowman reacting to things, and then Michael Cole having because the production team screwing up when they look at it, and Braun, all you see is Braun mouthing, goes, and then Michael Cole is like, he said, and Braun says, "What do I have to do to defeat him?" And everyone, I immediately go to Twitter, like, and out loud. Jared texted me, and as I said it out loud, it was that's not what he said, Michael. That was Michael. That wasn't it. On Twitter, just everything was that's not what he said, Michael. That's not.
And Braun Strowman says, "Darn it," or "Rats."
That wasn't. Oh my god! But that was. I don't know where they're going with Braun after this. I think there's still the chance that Braun rejoins Bray Wyatt, and this is purely because of what we saw at the end of the show. And now let's bring that up, because the thing that we didn't see coming, and I never thought that I would audibly pop for him, is that Roman Reigns came back, and that spear with his big old teeth killed the Fiend.
White. I was like, oh, damn my eyes.
Yeah. And he just killed the Fiend, and we were like, oh, cool. Roman's back. And insert right here a video of me reacting live to Roman coming back.
Holy sh! What the f? Roman! Oh my god!
And we're back. We are back. But see, audible pop from me, audible pop from everybody. I've never been so happy to see Roman Reigns in my entire life. I think that they need him much more than we thought they needed him, and he is the big dog. There is nobody else that even comes close to him in terms of just, I don't want to say charisma. I just want just in terms of top tier talent and as main event status, there's nobody that comes close to Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, right now they're really hurting for star power, and the way he's been booked just has done him no service over the years, as referenced by being audibly booed out of arenas and stadiums for the last few years. But yeah, it was good to see him, honestly. I didn't hear any spoilers about him coming back, so that was cool. He looked to be in great shape. Not having that Kevlar vest, I think, helps a lot.
I totally agree.
His teeth were shinier than these two things in my forehead, and the lighting I didn't set up enough in time. So he's been doing some of that. some
I'm
lightning.
always shine on shine. You know what I mean? It's like shine on when it comes onto this.
Um, but yeah, he looked healthy. He looked pretty jacked. Yeah, I think it was a good return. I'm still not sure if he's a face or a heel. I think if he was going to be a heel, the time would have been to do it when there was actually arenas and stadiums booing him out of the place. But
he's just
maybe
badass
better
Roman
late
Reigns.
than never.
He's just badass Roman. I don't think he's going to be a face or a heel. I think he's just going to be badass Roman Reigns like he should be, and how he's taking no prisoners. And the reason I think Braun might rejoin Bray is purely because of how Roman attacked both Bray and Braun. And I think that because Roman's going to, I mean, obviously now he's going to feud for...
And the shirt.
Right, yeah. Now he's gonna come back and just feud right away for the Universal title. And I think that having Braun rejoin Bray could ensure that Braun doesn't get left in the dust after he loses the title, and I think that's very important considering what Braun has done for the company during the pandemic. And yeah, I think
See, I'm less. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was finished. I was
just gonna say, yeah, I'm less high on Braun this whole time, but that's just me. My anecdotal thoughts on it. I just think like Drew might be, having a dartboard with Roman Reigns face on it now, because you can definitely see that even though Drew's the champion, who Vince really thinks is the face of the company after last night, and it's a shame because like I said, Drew's been doing really well, and but that was a good appearance for Roman, a good way to bring him back, and I'll say I'll withhold my judgment until I see what they do. As long as they don't shove him down everybody's throat. He looks like a badass. It was a great return, and it was good to see him.
Yeah, no, that's what. So that was my thing. Is that so they set it up so well, and I really hope they don't put Drew in the back seat, which is why I think I'm hoping that next week it'll be the main event, but he won't lose. But the idea of us, like for the last time we all saw Roman, and I've never heard in my life more people boo a man in unison than I've ever heard Roman Reigns booed in my life. And it was a next level. It wasn't even Cena level, because Cena level was like, oh, we're all in on the joke. People really hated Roman.
It's one of my favorite pastimes, booing Roman Reigns.
It is. Like, hating Roman Reigns was great. And then all of a sudden,
it was cool. Back. Hating Roman Reigns was cool. It was cool.
That's exactly what it was. It was the cool thing to do. But the reality is that Roman Reigns coming back and being as badass as he was, and allowing him to finally be a tweener. So my thing about Roman is, if WWE is gonna ask us to accept this as a long-term show, you know what I mean, from Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, all the different things, and this is a character, sometimes I don't like the character development of somebody in season 5. You know why? Because I saw it for 4 seasons already. That's not why I don't like the actor. I love the actor. I love the character. I just want to see something different. So him coming back without the Kevlar would be the smartest thing they did, and him being a tweener with whatever teeth he wants to bring in, I'm kind of for it. And especially because they tease that turn, that face turn for Bray, The Fiend, and Braun at the SmackDown Thunderdome before SummerSlam. And everyone was like, wait a second. This works. If we saw them going against Retribution, I would pop for this and I would fight. I would pay for that. And you know what, though? I will. And I have. And I think that Roman coming back as strong as he is, if he's the heel, the tweener, the Walter White, the Tony Soprano, great. Because I think they never got to pull the trigger on Cena, and they missed the boat. Because look what we go back and think about the Hollywood Hogan era of WCW, of the NWO. That is one of the biggest eras in professional wrestling, because they had the chance. They took the chance to turn somebody when the opportunity came. I hope that happens for Roman, because he deserves it.
Absolutely. That's all the matches for today. Why don't we go through? We'll give our final grades for the show, a letter grade. I'm going to give this show an A-. It feels like everything went well, besides maybe a few, the pre-show match and the Street Profits. Everything else went really smoothly. Really liked the Thunderdome. Everything. It was by far WWE's best show of the year. I'm going to give the show an A-. Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna give it a hybrid B plus, quasi A minus. I thought that it was the best show they've done. It was going to be a B, then the Roman situation happened, and it became a B plus, possibly A minus, because it told me that they realized summer's over, their big time stars are coming back. And then everything that we have to look forward to over the next 6
We
months.
just started the road to
Hopefully.
WrestleMania. We just started the road to WrestleMania already, and that's
Oh
that.
my!
They're
That's
already
my
building.
GPS.
You already have
That's
to.
what
You
it
already
is.
have to build it because if they really want
Google
to,
Maps.
yeah, if they want WrestleMania to be the top show, you have to build it and make sure people are watching before. Nobody, like, yes, you can have fans just tune in for WrestleMania, but you want people to tune in before, and you need those ratings. That's what I think. Sean, what is your letter grade for SummerSlam this year?
I have to agree with you. I give it an A minus. I'm always critical of just the booking decisions, and maybe this is me being on a curve because on a main roster curve, we're in the pandemic, but this is the first time I was genuinely like looking forward and excited to watching a WWE main roster pay-per-view. I didn't know what was going to happen with McIntyre and Orton. I didn't know what was going to happen with The Fiend and Braun. I was looking forward to Dominic and Seth Rollins. Just felt like there was a good amount of build for either their second or third biggest pay-per-view of the year. And I was really, I was entertained throughout the whole time. I liked the action. I liked the storylines and bookings. I give it the highest grade I've given a WWE pay-per-view in quite a while. Yeah, an A minus. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Make sure to go follow The Finishing Maneuver on all social medias at The Finishing Maneuver, of course. Go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charno. Jared, where can we find you?
And you can find me at Something Wilder on really all the socials that can be social. Hit me up. Guess what? I'm hashtag Team Follow Back, unless you're a douche nozzle. But honestly, even then, I'll probably follow you back. Hey, Shawnee, where can we find you, my friend?
My Twitter handle is at Sean Varga 38. There'll be some political nonsense. There'll be some entertainment goss. You'll get a little bit of everything from me. Sports, wrestling. Hit me up there.
Yes, and always.
And a personal shout out to Sean, because he also happens to follow Sean, because also he is one of the key entertainment influencers in the business.
Yes. Oh, you're too kind. Too kind.
Yes. Sean, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, go subscribe
so much.
to The Finishing Maneuver on YouTube for all the top predictions, reactions, rumors, and all content from around the wrestling world.